Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. It's our second lecture of grammar. We are discussing noun, types of noun. Among those types, now we'll discuss collective nouns. Collective nouns have the form of singular noun. They are, as a word, singular, but at the same time denote a group of persons or concepts considered as one whole. However, when we use them, we actually use them for a group of persons, things, ideas, concepts, and those persons, concepts, etc. are considered as one whole. They are considered as one. For example, when we say team, now team as a word is singular, but we know that all teams consist of different players, a number of players. Similarly, family is a singular noun, but every family has 2, 4, 6 persons. There are members of family. When we say paper is a collective noun in the sense that when we say paper, we are not talking about sheets, we are talking about a number of sheets. Now, nouns may be countable or uncountable. They are countable because we can count them, and in the English language, we have their plurals. So, countable nouns are divided into concrete nouns. These are the names of individual objects and living beings, individual things and living beings. For example, chicken, ticket, tree. Now these are abstract nouns. Abstract nouns are the names of things or persons whom we can see, whom we can touch. So look around yourself and everything there has a name, and all those things are concrete. So those names, those nouns are also concrete, and they are countable nouns because we have their plural. We have their plural. Chicken, chickens, ticket, tickets, tree, trees. Then there are abstract nouns. Abstract nouns may also be countable nouns. These are the names of concepts. For example, problem. Now, problem is an abstract noun, but it has a plural also. Countable, it's a countable noun. It has a plural also. Similarly, idea, it's an abstract noun. It has a plural, ideas, problems. So in that respect, countable nouns may be concrete or abstract. Similarly, uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns are the nouns which can't be counted or which don't have their plural form in the English language. They may also be abstract concepts. For example, Islam, Buddhism, progress. Now these are abstract concepts. They are uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns may be material nouns also. These are the names of various substances and materials. Material nouns are generally uncountable nouns. Material nouns are the names of the things which are used to make other things. For example, milk, aluminium, coal. Now these are material nouns and they don't have their plural form. That's why they are also uncountable nouns. Well, here we come to the end of the discussion of nouns. Next, we will be discussing pronouns. A pronoun is a part of speech that shows but does not directly name objects. Now, a pronoun is basically a word that is used in place of a noun, that replaces a noun. So, in that way, a pronoun shows an object, but it doesn't name it directly. According to their meaning, pronouns in English are divided into several groups. Now, their use and their meaning determines the group they belong to. There may be many groups of pronouns. The following is a list of these groups and their corresponding English pronouns. So these lists are given there. There are personal pronouns, and personal pronouns may be divided into subjective or objective. In subjective case, they have I, you, he, she, it, we, they. Whereas when these pronouns are used as objects, they have these forms: me, you, him, her, us, them. So these are personal pronouns. Then there are possessive pronouns. Possessive pronouns are the pronouns that show possession or ownership, that show that someone possesses or owns a thing. For example, mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, theirs. Now you can see that many of these possessive pronouns have s at their end, and this s is without apostrophe. There is no need of apostrophe there because this s is a part of their spelling. Then there are demonstrative pronouns. Demonstrative pronouns. These are used to show nearness or distance of a subject or object in space or time. In a sentence, we use a noun or pronoun as a subject or object, and if we want to say that that subject or object is near or at a distance, we may use demonstrative pronoun to show these pronouns. This and that in the singular, this and that are two demonstrative pronouns. In the plural, these and those are used. Such is also sometimes used as demonstrative pronoun. Then there are interrogative pronouns. Interrogative pronouns. The pronouns that are used to find out information when you want to get some information, when you want to find out information, you use these words: who, what, whom, which, whose, whoever, whatever, whichever. Now these words, when used to ask questions, to get information, are interrogative pronouns. They are interrogative pronouns because they are used to ask questions. However, many of these interrogative pronouns may be used as relative pronouns also. Relative pronouns are used to define or identify the noun that have been used earlier in the sentence. Now, we use a noun in a sentence, when we want to refer back to that noun, we may sometimes use these relative pronouns. Who, whom, whose, which, that, or what. Now these are relative pronouns. For example, I know Aslam, who is my neighbor. Now here who is referring back to the noun Aslam. Who is used for Aslam. So here who is a relative pronoun because it is defining or identifying the noun Aslam. So in the same way, other pronouns whom, whose, which, that, what may be used and they will be called relative pronouns. Then there are reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns. These are pronouns with self or selves used as suffixes used at the end of pronouns. Self or selves. They are used when the subject and the object of a sentence are the same. Reflexive pronouns are basically used when in a sentence the subject and the object are the same. For example, myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. In the singular, we use self, whereas in plural, we use selves. And these are reflexive pronouns because in a sentence, we may use them to show that the subject and the object are the same. For example, he praised himself. He praised himself. Now, the person who is praising is he, and the person who is being praised is also he. So here the subject and the object are the same. So himself is being used as a reflexive pronoun here. Then emphatic or intensive pronoun. These pronouns may be called emphatic or intensive. Emphatic, putting stress. Intensive also shows the same, showing force. So these pronouns refer back to the noun which is the subject of the sentence in order to emphasize it. When we use emphatic or intensive pronoun, they actually refer back to the noun which is being used as a subject in the sentence. And the purpose of using these pronouns is to emphasize that subject. Here again, the form is the same as of reflexive pronoun, myself, yourself, himself, etc. But here the function or the purpose is different. In emphatic case, we use them to emphasize, to stress. For example, I myself saw it. Now, here myself is being used to put stress, to emphasize. Even without myself, the sentence is correct and complete. I saw it myself. I saw it myself. But I saw it. I saw it. I saw it is a complete sentence and correct sentence. But when we say I myself saw it, this myself puts more stress there. It emphasizes the subject. So that's why such pronouns are called emphatic or intensive pronouns. Then another class of pronouns is reciprocal pronouns. Reciprocal, mutual. They are used to express a mutual action or relationship. When we want to show a mutual action or a mutual relationship, mutual means from the first to the other and from the other to the first. So when we want to show such action or relationship, we use reciprocal pronouns. They are only two, each other and one another. Each other and one another. For example, they saluted each other or they greeted each other. Here we are showing an action of greeting. Now the first person greeted the other and the other person greeted the first one. So we are saying they greeted each other. So one another and each other are two reciprocal pronouns. Then at the end of this discussion of pronouns, we look at indefinite pronoun. Indefinite pronoun. Indefinite pronouns do not refer to any specific person or thing. The case is that when we say I, we use it, I is a pronoun, we use it for ourselves. Similarly, when we say they, we are using it for some specific person, he, she, it, etc. These pronouns are used for specific person, for the persons or for the things which are known to us. But when we want to talk about persons or things which we don't know, persons or things who are not specific, so we use these words, these indefinite pronouns. There are many there. For example, some. When we say there was a party, some came to attend it. Some came to attend it. Now here we are using the word some as a pronoun, as an indefinite pronoun, because the persons who came to attend that party are not known to us. We are not sure of them. They are not specific person. So we are using only the word some. Something. Do you have something? Now something is an indefinite pronoun. The word with some, the word with any, anything, anyone, the word with no, nothing, nobody, no one, none, neither, either, other, another, all, everything, everyone, everybody, each, both, all these words are called indefinite pronouns because they do not refer to, they do not show any specific person or thing. So here comes the end of our discussion on pronouns. Now knowing these differences is very important for you because some items from this general grammar are set in your paper in MCQs. So please go through them thoroughly, try to understand them perfectly, and if you have any problem, you may always contact me on the given number. Thank you very much.